Right. Well, welcome back, everyone. We're going to wrap up this video series with exercise number 5 in our chapter 0, homework 1 um, homework assignment here. And in this problem, we're going to this is a quick one too. This won't take too long, but we're going to compare merchandiser versus manufacturer in terms of the calculation of gross profit. So um, we've talked about this quite a bit, the comparisons, the different types of businesses, so on and so forth. So let's just look at a little more detail on some of the calculations here and how those compare between the two types of businesses. And in this problem, we're actually going to be doing some calculations within Excel, not showing our work like we were previously with spelling everything out, but we're actually going to link into some of the numbers above and do some actual formulas. Basic stuff, really easy. Uh, but that's what we're going to do here. So, okay. And again, this is going to be a real quick problem. It's just to show you some little differences here, and then we'll have this homework set all wrapped up. Okay, so again, calculating gross profit, or maybe I should say calculating cost of goods sold first, is a matter of your beginning inventory plus your purchases, right? So that gives you all the inventory that you could possibly sell, right? Whatever you started with plus whatever you added. And then we know what our ending amount is, and we're operating from the perspective of either it's ending inventory that we still have, or it's gone, it was sold, and it's cost of goods sold. Right? Two places it could either be. We know what's in ending inventory, so we just need to figure out what's the other portion of that, right? So to calculate cost of goods sold, we're going to kind of do some actual Excel formulas here for this problem, kind of using Excel the way it's meant to be used for calculations. Oop. Sorry, that's going a little wonky there. Let me redo that. So we're going to do equals. And again, cost of goods sold is going to be beginning inventory plus purchases minus what we still have. And that gives us 170,000. And you can see the formula is not spelled out like it was before. It's B4 plus B5 minus B6, those cells. And you can either, just from an Excel little tip and trick perspective, you could double click into the cell and then you'll see the color coding, and that does kind of draw your eye to how a formula is working as well. You all might already know that, but that's one way to do it. Or you could click on the cell and then go up into this formula bar up here and do it that way. Okay, so that was beginning purchases minus ending. Now let's look at the manufacturer. That was for a merchandiser. Let's look at the manufacturer. And this is, beginning merchandise inventory for a merchandiser. We're going to use a different term here. Mostly this whole exercise is about terminology differences, honestly, because what you're going to see is the calculations come out the same. But when we say merchandise inventory for a merchandiser, because they're just, buying these ready to sell products and selling them, we're going to use the word finished goods inventory for our manufacturer, right? So that's the comparable category there. But again, the amounts and kind of what they represent is very, similar in this regard. A merchandiser makes purchases to add to its merchandise inventory, whereas a manufacturer manufactures more goods that get added to the finished goods inventory, right? So we're going to use a different term there called cost of goods manufactured. So this is all the new finished goods that we were able to manufacture this period that we added to what we, had as a carryover as a beginning amount. And so that's our beginning plus our additions, and just different, they really do represent different, activities and processes, but from an accounting perspective, in terms of calculating cost of goods sold, these are the comparable categories: merchandiser versus manufacturer. And then when we, again, similarly with beginning versus, beginning merchandise inventory, finished goods inventory, same thing with the ending. So merchandiser has ending merchandise inventory, manufacturer has ending finished goods inventory. And then the formula is exactly the same: beginning plus what we added minus what's finished, what's left over as an asset still. And the difference, what's gone, is the cost of goods sold, right? And that formula worked there. Well, so let's use a little Excel efficiency, because we have these are all kind of lined up the same. So this formula is essentially going to be the same. We just need to transplant it over to this cell. So in order to do that, let's go here and copy And this will copy the whole formula, come to this cell and paste, and then you can hit escape to kind of clear out the little things that pop up when you copy and paste. And then you can see it's kind of transplanted that whole formula over to this side and applied that to these same cells, essentially, that same way above. So cost of goods sold between either type of business is the same. Really, it just comes down to the different terminology, right? And then, surprise, surprise, gross profit is the same as well. So sales minus cost of goods sold equals sales minus cost of goods sold. Hit enter, 90,000 of gross profit for our merchandiser. We can copy that formula, paste that right over. And we can paste that because everything's kind of lined up, how it is. So we're just transplanting that formula over. And as I mentioned previously, the outcome of this problem is really just the same. So I wanted to highlight the fact that we're still calculating cost of goods sold. We're still calculating gross profit, regardless of the business type. And there's comparable types of categories that are similar, in terms of these things. But they do represent, it's more of a behind the scenes. And that's what we're going to start in with, get into our chapter 1 is, it takes quite a bit more work to calculate, not anything. It's not rocket science. This is not super, super difficult. Don't get scared. We'll be able to do this. But we're going to have to do some work to calculate the cost of goods sold manufactured, etc., and finished goods inventory and all this stuff. That's what we're going to focus on when we get into the heart of our cost accounting. But just compare that to how simple it is to figure out purchases for a merchandiser, which is like what we did at exercise number 4, where all you need to know is, hey, we bought 10 backpacks, each one cost $50, therefore purchases were $500, 10 times 50. We got to do a bunch more work to aggregate costs, like we talked about earlier, payroll and raw materials, and we got to follow those costs through the process to track them from raw materials to finished goods and so on and so forth. So again, don't be scared. That's what we're going to be moving towards, spending lots of time and practicing. You're going to learn these skills. It's going to be great. But I think it's good just to start at this point where we can kind of see where we've been. Here you get a little glimpse of what's coming down the pipeline and a little perspective once we get there. But we are going to do a whole nother set homework exercises for chapter 2. That's going to be chapter 0, homework 2. There'll be a whole nother series of videos like this to walk you through the whole homework 2, chapter 0, homework 2 exercise homework set. So I will see you in that video, and thanks for following along to the end of this one. Hopefully you all found this very helpful, and I will see you all in class. Thanks everyone. Take care.